The Life to Legacy Explained free virtual series brought to you in part by the CHIP Reverse Mortgage by Home Equity Bank.
Having your affairs in order is equally important. Mark Neale is Head of Wealth and Finance at ClearEstate, a company that offers estate planning tools and estate settlement services. But first, he was a customer. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks, Natasha. Nice to be here.
We both flew from quite far to be
Yes,
here. We could have just done this from home, you and I. We could have met at a coffee shop.
Yes.
So I do want to ask, so first you were a customer, so what do you mean by that?
Well, what happened in my situation was I had retired. I'd retired from an investment firm where I'd worked for a long time, and I was invited back to their conference that was being hosted in Vancouver. And at the time, I had just been in to visit my financial advisor who had said, by the way, Mark, you have a 14-year-old son and your will has been made 15 years ago and you needed to update it. So in the back of my mind, this was sitting in me. And he had suggested a lawyer that I was going to go see. But anyway, what happened was I went into the conference. I came into a session that was held by ClearEstate. And I sat down, and the speaker, who was one of our founders at the time, talked about how the product that they had developed was a way for people to create an estate plan in the comfort of their home, talking with an estate professional online. And there was a free consultation. So I thought, well, here I was. So I signed up for the free consultation. And after the session, I had mentioned to the founder, his name was Alex, and I said, Alex, I signed up for your free consultation. He goes, oh, good, let me know how it goes one day. So a couple of weeks later, my wife and I, we had our free consultation, and we signed up for the service. Paid for it in advance, and we then met with our estate professional and started in the comfort of our home, sitting at our counter with a cup of tea. We went through and created our estate plan. And a few days after that was created, Alex actually called me. And I thought at the time, I said, well, I guess you're calling me because you wanted to know what I thought about the process. And he goes, well, no, actually, I called you to see if I could offer you a job.
And you had just come out of retirement. So you're like, what better time to get a job?
Yeah, what a better time to go into another job. We were looking to work with financial institutions and financial advisors to move the product forward and to get it into the hands of more people. And so what happened in that situation, I was pleased with the work that they had done for me. I thought the product was excellent. I felt the price was very good. And yeah, I was enthusiastic to take on the role in my retirement.
I needed to know the story, so now we all know the story. So when we get into the specifics of estate settlement, so what are the initial steps that need to be taken when settling an estate after someone passes?
Well, the first thing that has to be done is there a will? If there is a will, who's the executor? Who are the beneficiaries for it? It's also at that point in time, starting to gather documents. The executor is responsible to find information. So even if you think of your own life, like you have things that you've got that you probably haven't written down exactly where everything is. So someone, if you think about it, has to begin to uncover that puzzle that you've created that is your life. So where are those things? So gathering up real estate documents, gathering up insurance policies that you might have, car loans, or other obligations, financial that you might. So someone has to uncover all of these things and find out where they are. And then begin the process of settling your affairs.
So the first step is sort of a treasure hunt of sorts.
Yes.
And then you begin the process of settling the affairs. Is there a way of making the treasure hunt easier?
Well, there is, which is one of the things that we do at ClearEstate. Was we have a digital way of collecting information, and we encourage people. And the other speakers before me have said the same thing. It's about documenting information about where is this stuff, where do you keep things, where are your life insurance policies, what about pensions, what about loan obligations. The other thing that people, and one of the biggest friction points for people is personal effects. Maybe there's that ring that would belong to Mom, and I really wanted it, but my sister and my brother also wanted it, and Mom really gave no directions about that ring. Or maybe she told me at one time, and she told my brother at a time, and others my sister.
Well, let me tell you a story. My mother's actually here. She's in the audience.
Yes,
and
I met her.
Yes, and she has a ring that her mother gave her when she got married, this little 24-karat gold ring. So what I did was I stole that ring from her, so then my brother can't ever have it. Yeah. So is that not what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, kind of. Yeah, but it's interesting the friction point that things like that can create in an estate that might be, you know, it could be a estate could be worth many, many millions of dollars or whatever, but there can be friction points created by personal effects between siblings and between beneficiaries.
And is that sort of information captured? Like, do people usually put that in their will, or like, do you write that in a document, or is that just something that?
It's something that needs to be written down so that, again, when that executor is following the instructions that you left for them, they know what to do with those items. Because if it's not written down, if it's not held that information somewhere, it's not available. And that's really what's part of an estate plan. So an estate plan isn't just a will, it's more than that. It's creating that legacy for you and where you want the things that you've gathered throughout your lifetime, the things that are important, and where you want them to go.
Right, okay. So how can individuals ensure that their estate plan reflects their changing circumstances? So you talked about how your will was done when your son was -1. So, you know, changes in marital status, the birth of children, significant financial milestones. Like my own husband was married before me, and I always have this nightmare in my head. I'm getting personal here, you know, like what if something happens to him? Like, does his ex-wife has more say? I don't know.
Well, your story resonates with me because I've created 4 wills in my lifetime. The first one when I got married, the second one when I got divorced, the third one when I got remarried, and then just recently, 14 years after my son was born, I finally created a will that actually has him in it.
Well, I'm glad you did that for his sake. Yes. I'm worried about myself now, but.
But you know, in any kind of plan, what people talked about earlier, it's like it's like your car or your dentist. There's regular maintenance that has to be done to make sure that it's effective when it's needed. And for an estate plan, it doesn't mean doing it all the time, but it does mean when things occur in your life that are significant, that you pay attention to it and look at updating those things. One of the things we do at ClearEstate, for example, is people that I created an estate plan with ClearEstate. It's online, it's controlled, secured digitally online. And once a year, ClearEstate will contact me and say, Mark, is there anything that we need to be updated? Maybe I need to redo my will. Maybe I need to redo a power of attorney or a representation agreement for health. But all of those things I can do again. And it's that reminder, right? Because it's not, what I did 15 or 20 years ago is just not relevant today.
So changing things when your life changes is very important.
Important.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Updating those documents. So just think of it like car maintenance.
Right.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I have
or dentist, but that seems to be more painful.
I just don't want to talk about that. I got to make that appointment, Mark.
Yeah,
you just reminded me. So how does the probate process work? Because I will admit, the first time I heard the word probate, and I was a grown adult, I was like, I don't even know what this word means, and I literally had to Google it. So now I do know what the word means. But how does the process actually work?
Well, it's a legal process, which is to validate the authenticity of the will and to empower the executor to then act on behalf of the deceased. So what it's really doing, it's a legal process, and that empowers people, make sure the will is authentic, and then gives the power to the executor to then begin the process to settle the affairs.
And does every estate need to go through probate?
No, there's certain, and other people have referenced that as well, but not all states, all estates will go through probate. Some, because it's generally set up as on an asset basis, but all estates don't have to go through probate if the assets are minimal.
Okay.
Yep.
So like what I said earlier, just spend all your money.
Spend it all.
So there's nothing left.
So there's nothing left.
And then you don't have to worry about probate.
The problem is the timing, right? The problem is the timing. We don't
actually know how long we're here for. That is not the advice I'm giving.
Okay.
Maybe it is. So what are the typical responsibilities of the executor or administrator of an estate, and how can they ensure they fulfill their duties effectively? Because I'll tell you, I've been asked to be an executor, and right away I thought, oh God, that sounds like a terrible, terrible job. Because it is a lot of work.
It is. You know, from our research at ClearEstate, we estimate that it's over 400 hours of work to settle an estate.
Wow.
It's a lengthy
Your average estate is 400 hours.
400 hours.
Wow.
It's lengthy, it is daunting, and for the executor, it comes with legal liability to make sure that you did it correctly. Because if you didn't, you are accountable for it. It comes with things that people aren't aware of, for example, such as you're named the executor, you're required to secure the assets. So, You know, is there insurance on the home? Has the property taxes been paid? Are all the windows closed? Is the plumbing, like, if you have a situation where the pipes blew because it was in the winter, the executor is responsible to secure that asset until such time they're able to distribute it. So it comes with a daunting amount of, a huge amount of work, or can be, legal liability with it, and it's not something that someone should take liability. They have an accountability for it. So.
And so you talked a little bit about the various types of assets and liabilities that need to be addressed during an estate settlement, but a question I was thinking was, if you purchase a new piece of property, or do you have to update your will every single time you do that?
I don't know that you have to update your will, but you need to at least address that in your estate plan as to what that's happened. So, you know, in our own situation, I recently sold my house, bought a new home on Vancouver Island where we're moving. So in my, the will gives direction as to where my assets and what happens to them. But you know, I went into my estate plan line, I deleted the current property that we just sold, and I added the new property that we're adding. So again, it has to be addressed in that estate plan. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to redo the will, but it needs to be addressed.
That's good. You can save on some legal fees there. So are there specific timeframes or deadlines that should be kept in mind when settling an estate, and what happens if they're not met? And I do want to talk again about that legal liability piece. I just had a vision of me like behind bars because I forgot to close a window.
Right. So first of all, there's no time frame necessarily to do it. Where there are time frames, though, are, for example, for taxes. So again, as the representative of the estate, I need to settle the terminal tax return. I have to complete their final tax return. And if I don't get those done on time, you know, they come with interest and they come with penalties. It also, the other thing that is, because as the executor, I'm required to secure the assets and maintain the value of those assets and do the best I can with them. You know, if I simply ignore it and let the assets go on, am I really, first of all, I'm in danger of losing value for those things. So I need to act prudently and quickly, but there's no time frame, not necessarily a time frame for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what options or resources are available for individuals who want to plan ahead and make the process of settling their estate smoother for loved ones? And I'm not just saying this because you're on my stage, but I definitely think I'm going to be signing up for ClearEstate after this. But what options or credible resources are out there?
Well, I think for most people, I think ClearEstate's a very valid solution for them. We offer an opportunity for people to go online. They give a free consultation for 30 minutes where we'll review their situation, and if we think it's appropriate, there's a solution that we'll do. They'll then meet with an estate professional, so someone that's experienced in doing this, and we'll walk through them how to set up their estate plan. And it's not an easy process. Like my wife and I, when we sat at the table going through this with the estate professional, we didn't agree on everything, but at least we had the discussion and we went through the process to go through it. You know, so all of my assets, all of my documentation, everything is uploaded and secured in a digital vault. I can update that periodically by I can log on and change it and adjust it. I can send a note to my estate professional, they can add to it. So that's an alternative. At the same time, you can meet with, you know, financial planners. Some financial planners do a good job of housing this. Some insurance agents and stuff will do a good job of housing this. But I think the important thing is for people to have a discussion with someone about it and work towards establishing that. You know, someone earlier again referenced that, you know, less than 50% of Canadians have a will. You know, that's a start, but documenting where these things are. You know, we didn't even talk about, but you know, people dying. Like, what about where there's a situation where children are involved and they're still minors? And the other one that's another friction point for people, pets. Where does the dog go? Where does the cat go?
I talk about my cat a lot,
yeah.
But I have heard there's a charity that exists. It's called My Grandfather's Cat, and it's actually for if you pass away and you have a pet, and they help to rehome that pet because they're part of our families.
Right.
Like, they don't just go free.
Right, but it's another thing that people can address and talk about. Yep.
And so I wanted to end by asking, what does legacy mean to you? What are you hoping your story is at the end of all of this?
Well, I think I define estate planning as the art of dying neatly. It's really but for me, legacy means a contribution to making sure my family is secured. I have a son, young son. I have a wife. I want to make sure that they're taken care of. I want to make sure that my community benefits. I want to make sure that there's a legacy left within my community to charitable organizations that have been important to me, to institutions like where I graduated from university, to make sure that my university that educated me, gave me so many of the opportunities I've had in life, has benefited. So legacy is really about that. It's about community. It is about family, and it is about charity.
I like that answer.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. It was lovely speaking with you
Pleasure.
today. Thank you.